Good morning to you. I hope your Friday is starting very well. I hope it's Friday. Out here in the middle of nowhere, all the days are pretty similar. So, I've been talking over these last couple of weeks about a little process that I find it useful to go through when I feel lost, either in my whole life or in a little aspect of my life. And it's a six-part process. And the first four parts: stop, become present, look around, get encouragement. And yesterday I started talking about the fifth part, which is get clarity. I suggested how when we look at the world, we tend to see what we expect to see. We see the details of our lives that confirm our assumptions and biases. Indeed, the phrase confirmation bias has entered into daily language. Yeah. If I am viewing the possibility of starting a new initiative in my work life and I have failed many times in other initiatives, I see all the reasons why I might fail. Or whether I failed or not, if I feel I failed, then I will see the reasons why I'll fail. And similarly, if I have set up initiatives in the past and they've always been successful, when I survey the landscape of my life as it is now, I will see the things that make me think it's going to be successful, and so on. Confirmation bias. And overcoming that's really useful. But today I want to just talk about another aspect of getting clear, getting clarity. And I want to tell you a story which is frankly still really embarrassing to me, but here we go. Many years ago, when I was doing my master's degree in theatre, I was come straight out of my first degree, which was in English literature, and so I was 22, 23, very politically active, passionately committed to progressive politics, as I still am, although maybe I've learned a few lessons along the way. And not in the same year as me on the master's course, but I think the year after, when I was still hanging around and, knew the people from the department, there was a student who was older than me. He was probably in his late 30s, mid-30s maybe. He was a black South African. Bear in mind, this was the 80s. The reality of his growing up was that he grew up under the state violence and racism of apartheid. And I went on marches about apartheid. I went on marches saying "Free Nelson Mandela," and this guy was my friend, and it was pretty interesting. I liked him. And one day we were chatting away about music and jazz, which has always been one of my other passions. And he mentioned Louis Armstrong, uh, and his song "What a Wonderful World." And I sneered a little bit. Oh my God, it still makes my skin crawl with embarrassment, because I said, he didn't seem to me, you know, angry enough or engaged enough. He was just singing nice songs. It does, I'm sorry, make my skin crawl, the thought of me, a know-nothing early 20-year-old white boy, telling a black South African whose daily reality had been violence and oppression, trying to tell him something about racism. I forgive myself simply because it's one of the oldest stories there is. Each generation that seems to discover progressive politics also seems to think it invented progressive politics, and seems to think that everyone who came before them had no progressive politics, that they are the new generation, the elect and the elite, and that their job is in some way or other to destroy those who came before them, simply to prove how progressive they are. Well, there was I going, yeah, we are the new generation. And my friend, he looked at me and said, with what I still think of as extraordinary restraint, said, "Have you got any idea what it took morally and ethically and spiritually for someone like Louis Armstrong to stand on stage in front of segregated audiences in the American South, audiences who would have lynched him if he, as a black man, had stepped out of line?" They defined the line, of course. Had stepped out of line and drunk in a white person's bar or at in a white person's diner, or God help us, be seen talking to a white woman. He said, have you any idea what moral, ethical, and spiritual courage it took for him to say, it's a wonderful world? You can extend that to say, whatever you do, whatever happens, however you oppress and insult me, I see wonder in the eyes of a child and in, all the other beautiful lyrics of that song. My friend was telling me something profoundly important. When you want to understand something, it really helps to look beyond its surface and see what lies beneath. And so in this little journey that I've been talking through over these last couple of weeks, as we try to solve the problem of feeling lost in some or all of our lives, if you're lost, stop. Don't keep heading when you don't know where you're heading. Become present. Look around. Get encouraged. Be brave. Get clarity. Not just seeing what is happening, but accessing how extraordinary it is to be alive, to be you, to be unique, to be connected, to be in a world of birds and mountains and music and stars and goodness and kindness, to be able to withstand the unkindness and the struggle that we all face daily, whether we come from relatively privileged cultures and societies or our entire lives have been struggle, to see the wonder and the awe that lies beneath the very fact of being alive. And as we enter into the final stage of getting going after being lost, let's fuel ourselves from that sense of awe, that connection with the vast, inexplicable mystery of being alive. Let's have the moral, ethical, and spiritual courage to connect with wonder. It's easy to go, well, if I try to be optimistic and I get all wondered, full of wonder and awe, I'm just going to feel childish and stupid because life's a struggle. No, it takes moral courage to think the best. It takes moral courage to respect other people. And it takes perhaps spiritual courage to look at this world that we share and go, you know what? It is a wonderful world. Whatever you're doing, try to spend a little moment today looking beneath the surface and see the awesome mystery that lies beneath. Have a wonderful day.